Hello folks, it's Chris in Arena Studio. If you want to learn the correct way to start your beginner guitar playing and learn 4 chords and break them down into manageable chunks that give you maximum results in the minimum amount of time, then this is the video for you. Thanks very much for sticking around and hopefully watching the rest of the video. Please give the channel a like and a subscribe and give that bell a little ding for me, and that really makes my day. So how are we going to approach this 4 chord early on in your guitar playing career progression of G major, E minor, C major and D major to get to the stage of being able to go you need something that sounds a little bit musical, but to get to that musical end result, we need to break things down a little bit. So the first thing I would do is I would play the G major chord. Make sure that you can hear all the strings nice and cleanly. There's none of this going on. If there is, juggle the fingers around until you get confident at playing and remembering that shape. Then you're going to move, you're going to make a transition from the G major to the E minor. Now it's always the chord transitions. It's not, I can play an E minor now, I'm playing an E minor chord, but it's not musical because there's nothing driving it. And it's when we go from one chord to the other that the issues start. So simplify everything, break it down, and if you learn the correct way to your correct approach to playing and practicing, you'll find that your practice will become smaller, the end results will grow, but you will get better in a shorter space of time. So we're going to look at breaking this down into the sections that we would need to make this very learnable in a short space of time, okay? So we'll take the G major chord, we've got all 6 strings ringing cleanly. We know the shape of the E minor chord. Now whichever way you play these chords, whether it's that way or some guys play it that way, you'll see the reason why I stick to the shapes that I do just for this 4 chord progression, just to make things a little bit easier and hopefully get the point across of how you can break things down, see the common denominator between the things, and then that will help hopefully get you off and running in a short space of time. So the G to the E minor, if you look there, my first finger is actually on the correct note for the E minor. So rather than lifting everything off and popping on the 2 fingers, we just do a little shimmy and pop that second finger on the string below. Okay? So we don't need to move that first finger off. It needs to stay where it is, just slide back and you're on. Now the first thing I would do is get that confidently back and 2. Don't try and play it with the strum, it's not necessary. Now that's far more productive going back and forth than trying to play all 4 chords with errors. So get that first stage, stage 1 we'll call that, get that right. Okay, then we move on to stage 2, which is E minor to C. Now if we look there, the second finger of the E minor chord is perfect. It's bang on that note for the C major chord. So rather than lifting 2 fingers off and trying to land 3, we just leave that one planted, do a little swivel, and we're now going from an E minor to a C chord. Again, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day of that. Don't go from one of these sections to the other. Isolate the main ones. G to E minor, focus on that for one night. Then maybe E minor to C, and then add the G and E minor on at the end of that. So make sure that the amount of time that you practice is really useful and consistent. Don't swap and change and stop and move around from one section to the other. So do section 1, master that. Then go to section 2, which is the E minor to the C. So we're now landing 2 fingers instead of 1 from the G to the E minor, okay? So now the C chord to the D, we have no common fingers there. So this is literally that leap of faith. And again, this is probably going to be a bit more difficult. This will feel more awkward for you because you're actually trying to land 3 fingers. So again, 3, 4, 5 minutes a day on that. I mean, more if you can do more. It's a patience this, it's not a sprint learning the guitar, it's a marathon. So make sure that everything is nicely in place before you move on. The fourth stage of this is then going back from the D chord to the very beginning so that we can cycle the whole 4-chord progression over and over. Okay, so we're going to go D to G. So that's stage 4. Okay, and again, as many minutes as you can to try and get that perfect. If one of these is difficult, don't go on to the next one. Master that element that you're working on before you move on to the next section. So we'll say 5 minutes of G to E minor. A little bit of a rest, and then again, just moving those 2 fingers this time, E minor to C. 5 minutes and a little rest. Then we're on to the C to the D, stage 3. 5 minutes, and then again, D to G. So we've got 4 stages there. That would take you 20 minutes. Now that's a real good starting point, I think. You're going to find that your fingers will get a little bit sore if you're first outing on the guitar is to try and get 4 chords together. And if you can get these 4 chords in place, you're probably going to find that you're into a few songs there as well with these 4 chords. So the missing element now is the strumming pattern. So if we were to try and play G, E minor, C, D, G, E minor, C, D, and so on and so forth with the strumming pattern, we've got a lot of information that we're trying to process there. It takes a little bit of doing, and you might not think so, but it's quite a hard thing to do. It's probably running 4 or 5 processes on a laptop or something, and it starts to grind to a halt. We're the same. The more stuff that we're trying to learn at the same time, the longer it's going to take us. Okay? So this is why get the G to the E minor right. Set that as your target. Master that. Then the next one, stage 2, and then stage 3, 4, and so on. Now, rather than add the strumming pattern into all that, we're just going to take the strumming pattern, damp the strings, and we're going to go. Which is just a down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Now for me, it's far easier to learn a strumming pattern in isolation like that than having to contend with changing all the chords, learning the chords, hoping the transitions are right, all at the same time. Again, it goes back to this processing power. We need to really simplify things to learn it quicker. So again, isolate the strumming pattern. Play it for 5 minutes, and then you'll find that it all starts to feel natural. So then after a few nights of that, try and add all the elements together. Okay? Now I know that when you start to add the elements together, one part is going to feel more difficult, or 2 parts maybe, more difficult to land onto the chords or to keep it flowing nicely than the others. That's the one that you need to isolate and then go back to. So say it was the C to the D. If you try and play and we get this kind of thing. For me there, it was the transition from the E minor to the C. So we go back to that one. We drill that for a few more minutes, and we instill that muscle memory, and then probably the C to the D. The weaker ones are the ones that become the dominant ones to practice. The ones that you master early on, you can just kind of back off on the amount of time that you're putting in those and focus the extra time on the ones that are more difficult. And like I say, then if you play the strumming pattern in isolation, you'll find that learning all these sections in small chunks is far more productive than trying to learn them all at the same time. It might take you 3 or 4 weeks to do it if you do them all at the same time, but you could probably get this done within a week if you practice sensibly and you use this disciplined process of being able to restrict any variance and don't try and incorporate anything else. Don't try and run before you can walk is probably the way to describe it really, which I did for years. We're all guilty of it as guitar players. It's having that mindset to stop that happening that's going to help you to progress and make great gains in a short space of time. So if you do have any questions for me, please pop them below. You can check out other information and bits and bobs on my website, and I am doing online lessons via Skype, Zoom, all those types of things as well. So if anybody's interested in anything like that, just message me and let me know. Or if you're having any problems with your guitar playing skills whatsoever, please send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So for me, Chris, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and keep on rocking in the free world.